Hey guys, this week's podcast is brought to you in part by Squarespace. Make your future brighter and your ideas brighter with a unique website from Squarespace. Showcase your work, blog, or publish content, even sell products and services of all kind in just a few clicks. Customize everything from look and feel to settings and products using templates created by world-class designers. Nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code COLT. Save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Enjoy your new life on the web, but for now, enjoy the show.
This is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds and souls, the hearts and lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I'm your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I'm a gambler. I'm a loser. I'm a gambling loser. I do not know when to hold 'em. I do not know when to fold 'em. Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler. I am sitting here live in my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before we go any further, this fan-supported and listener-supported podcast supported by people just like you. Give it to you free of charge every single Thursday. ColtCabana.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you can support. Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend. Tweet it out. Facebook it out. Best way that you can support, though, ColtMerch.com. T-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters. I got a children's book. I got little action figures. I got keychains. I got old wrestling gear. I got the Wrestling Road Diaries 1, 2, and 3. This is the best way that you can support ColtMerch.com, and hopefully soon to be back on a hiatus is DigitalColt.com. Paul, I talked to him. I got him on Facebook. He said, the server crashed, ... yada, yada, yada. We'll get there eventually. That was basically the quote. And I'm like, all right, there's nothing I can do. So I'll wait on that. My apologies to everybody out there. Just letting you know, I'm a human being, and so is Paul. We're all just humans. We're normal people, and so are wrestlers. Was I saying that I'm not a wrestler? I'm a wrestler, and I'm a human being, and that is the theme for this week's show as we, I guess, close it all out. I've been playing the replays. Next week, I'm heading to Japan, and then the week after that is the brand new show. Everything will start. Everything will restart. It's a relaunch. I said initially it was a pivot. I thank you for those who have been listening to the old ones and hanging out with me. And I hope the future is going to be bright and fun and interesting moving forward. In saying that, this is probably the podcast that you should probably tell your friends. If they ever wondered about the art of wrestling, why you liked it, and they didn't understand, they're like, oh, there's all those kind of podcasts out there. The Ross Report and Austin and Jericho and Killing the Towns. They're all the same. And you're like, no. I mean, you know this. You're like, no, this is a show where there was some heart. And they were always hanging out, and sometimes they laughed and made jokes and told funny stories. But at the end of the day, we found out really who these wrestlers were and that there was more to them than just putting on spandex. And this is how we found out that wrestlers are people. They have worries the same as you do. They have desires the same as you do. They have fears the same as you do. They are just like you. Where do I fit in that? That was weird for me to even say. But I'm a wrestler. But also, I'm like you. I guess that's the whole point. I cut out some clippets of some old shows. The first one you'll hear is Tomasso Ciampa. And I know recently he told Jericho and Edge and Christian to fuck off. Not in so many words, but he was like, hey, don't use my story as publicity to help you. And that's not what I'm doing. But when he came on the show, March 8th, 2013, he was just an independent wrestler at the time. And he put his heart out there. And I remember talking to him afterwards, and he was saying that he was talking with his wife, and she was like, did you know you were going to say that? And he's like, well, I wasn't going to hide it, but I didn't know if it was going to come out. And I didn't know that this was information that was going to come out. This is just how the conversations go, and I was intrigued, and he felt open enough with me. I mean, I had known Tomasso for a couple of years, and he was a friend when I was at OVW with him, when he was just starting out in WWE at 21 years old. And that's, I'm proud that this show was a place where people felt comfortable, and Tomasso felt comfortable enough opening up. And I know this story has helped so many people in the past, and it's important for me to put it out there in case maybe you haven't heard it. After that, Neville. And this is so crazy because I don't know what's happened to him. I haven't talked to him since whatever has happened with him in the WWE. But when we talked January 15th, 2012 on episode 78 of The Art of Wrestling, a lot of us were nudging him to take that step into the WWE, and you'll hear from this part of the chat that he had a lot of fears and a lot of fear of rejection and failure. And for him to allegedly, I don't know, allegedly say, I got to get out of this place to where he was now, I don't think he would have done that years ago. So I think this was a very important chat. And I know a lot of people say that this is one of the first Art of Wrestlings where people realized that it was a different kind of podcast. And I always appreciate Neville, or Pac as he was known at the time, for what he did, and hopefully appreciated that I was able to bring something fun out of him. And then lastly, this is a portion I played on the 5th anniversary, but I'm going to replay it now. This was actually on the original digital COLT'S.com. I had some premium stuff where before anyone was doing talking to wrestlers, really, I would put out some extra content that I would sell for like $5. It was a couple hours of stuff of me talking to friends who had already been on the show. And this was the summer of 2013. It was in Perth, Australia, where we wrestled for NHPW. For the great Mana over there, he's the man. He brought me over 4 times to Australia. I'll forever be grateful. And in this chat, he's basically saying, well, Colt, you're doing fine. You've set up a podcast and some merch, but I'm not. So I think I'm going to quit wrestling so I could be a real person. And then, just a couple years later, look what's happening. And I'm still so proud of both him and Sami Zayn. I think the world of them. I think they're the best. I can't believe they've made it to where they've made it and beyond. And I'm like a proud father. I really am. So that's the episode. Should I even talk? I mean, usually on these podcasts, I talk about my week. I let you in. This is the type of documentarian that we will be exploring even more on the new series, on the new versions of The Art of Wrestling. But listen, I went to Vegas. I don't know. I lost $130. I can live with it. Ian and I called a pay-per-view. We called some TVs. I'm forever grateful that the TVs can be edited. And for some reason, I'm on during the pay-per-views. I'm good. But when I know those TVs are edited and we can edit something in post, I did the alt. Oh, man, I just gave up in the middle of the sentence. The camera was on us. Ian's rocking it like he always does. He's so good. I hope you guys appreciate Ian Riccaboni. And I was like, here we go. I have one line to say. And it just didn't come out. And then I just stopped and just put my head down. And it's like, they're shooting this show. They're shooting a show. This probably would go on television. And I just, as Ian starts talking, I just go, I suck. That's me learning commentary. I got to get better. Luckily on the live ones, I'm good. But just because I know there's a safety net, I just went, I suck. And hopefully it gets edited. If it doesn't get edited, please tell me if you watch the show and that makes it in there. That would make me, it would make me sad, but it would kind of make me laugh, knowing that I've talked about it. I got it out there. You guys know. You know the story behind me sucking at commentary. All right, we'll talk about a sponsor, and then we'll get into the real lives of real people as professional wrestlers. And the sponsor is Squarespace. Websites. Squarespace will make your new business or idea stand out. Create your idea or unique website with a beautiful template created by a world-class designer. Showcase your work, blog, or publish content, even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. Customize everything from look and feel to settings and products. Optimize for mobile right away, and you can use their analytics to help your business grow in real time. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. This sounds easy so far, right? And if you get stuck, use Squarespace's award-winning 24/7 customer service. So many listeners tell me about their wrestling ideas and real-life ideas, but mainly wrestling ideas, and I think a landing page is super important. I still maintain ColtCabana.com. I've got all the social media stuff, but I'm a firm believer in sending people to a professional-looking website. And you should too. Get a free trial by heading to Squarespace.com. When you're ready to launch, use that offer code COLT. Save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's Squarespace.com with the offer code COLT. All right, let's get into some real life stuff. So you go home, are you in a funk?
Yeah, man. I go home and the first thing I did was said, well, I'm going to let my ankle heal finally. And I think it took me a couple months before I did a show again. I was in bad shape, as physically, and I didn't, it was just one of those things where, I went through a depressed state. Yeah, it was crap. turned to drugs a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a moment with it. And the moment lasted longer than I think I probably even noticed. It was probably like a 6 to 12 month period. But it was just, I'm serving tables at a Fridays and, collecting, whatever, because they pay you for 90 days after your contract.
Sure.
So I'm collecting those pays and serving tables and 21 and like, man, I just got fired from my dream job.
You're right.
I'm trying to go to classes, like wrestling schools and stuff. And no matter where you go, it's like there's whispers. And even if there's not, I'm sure you just imagine.
In your head. Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
So it was just, shit, it was bad. It was bad.
But you moved to Harley's.
Yeah, Harley's for me, I think there was a point where I started to hit where I said, well, first of all, I hit rock bottom. I had a bad, depressed episode where I had to get help in the whole 9 yards. So I had that moment.
All from wrestling, and then
I don't know.
was there other stuff in that?
Yeah,
or just the idea that this was taken away from you.
It had to be. My relationship had completely ended, obviously, with the girl, but I think that was less to do with it than the wrestling. It was just you're at this point where for you it's got to be the same. You want to be a wrestler your whole life, and then you're like, well, can I not be a wrestler? Do I have to be something else? What do I be? What am I going to be?
Right. When I got fired, I went on monster.com and I put my resume up.
Yeah. How awkward is it?
It's the weirdest. And I was sitting at my parents' house because I had to move back in with my parents because somebody was in my apartment. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm home with my phone. It was just horrible.
I'm 29 years old at this time, though, by the way.
See, I'm 29. That's what, and it's what, but the thing is,
you probably felt like you were 29. You've been around the world.
You have everybody who tells you, oh, you're young, you're this, you got this going for you, that, you can go back to school. You don't want to hear it.
Right.
You don't, you get it, but it doesn't help at the time. So I think it was the moment where I kind of had a bad, depressed episode. And, I talked about it actually for the first time in a promo that I did online, just because I think it was just something like, well, I got to get this out there because I got to put it behind me. And it helped. It was like a cleansing, but it was just the shits, man. I had like a suicidal run and had to get depression clinic in the
Did
whole
you try to take your life?
Yeah.
What was your way?
Car exhaust.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good Lord, Tomasso.
In a shitty way too, because my sister's her high school boyfriend who always babysat us. That's how he killed himself.
Wow.
So
is that
it was something I knew.
I was gonna say, did you know how
Yeah, just because of that, it was something that always stuck with me, and it was I was drugged way more than I probably should have been, because it was all stemming from work. I would go to work and I would just take different pills and stuff, and I didn't even know what the hell I was taking. I was taking maybe it was a Soma, maybe it was a muscle relaxer.
You don't give a fuck.
I didn't care.
Yeah,
I didn't even care.
Yeah,
as long as it got me through. I had to get through the day serving tables, smiling at people. I gave a shit,
knowing you weren't wrestling.
I just had to get through it. Yeah. I didn't know how to get through it, so I would just. If this one had something, I would take it. If this one had something, I would take it. And at the end of one of my shifts, it was in a blur. It was like an outer body experience, I guess.
But it didn't work, or was it a cry for help?
Got caught. No, it would have happened, dude. It would have. I wouldn't be here today. Yeah.
Right. And
I'm in a parking lot, and it was. I think. It was weird. I've never talked about it. I think it started, maybe it was a cry for help momentarily, because there was a moment where I was texting with my ex, and then my brother was trying to reach me. I don't think I even responded to my brother's text, but I was texting my ex saying like stupid goodbye text, so kind of cry for help type. But then I stopped everything and I shut my phone off or stopped responding. It was one of the two.
And committed to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fully. And, found an empty lot and set the whole car up. And
doesn't have to be in a garage.
No. Well, no. I say I shouldn't even. There's a way to do it. I don't want to share it because who knows who's listening out there. That's in a bad place. But there's a way to do it where you can just reverse the exhaust, essentially.
Right.
So that's what I had done, and the security guard. I get all this later, of course. The security guard for that lot had decided to do one loop completely off of his shift hours, 2 hours later, just because he happened to be in the area and saw my car and saw the whole setup and called the cops, obviously. And cops showed up, and I guess when they had come, they kind of woke me out of a foggy state. And then I kind of like lost it because all that is a big blackout. But I apparently we had a big yelling contest and blah, blah, blah. So I got brought into like a psyche home. Yeah. So shits.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to say it's like it's from wrestling. I don't want to put that on you. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But like there's a handful of guys. You heard about Bad Seed?
No.
Sean.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Took his life.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a handful.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a handful of dudes that have kind of done that.
I think I don't know that there's a trigger, but I think what happens is if you do turn to drugs ever, and you start taking them, you hit a point where there's maybe so much built up in your body, or you just overdosed or something, where you just lose control. Rational
decisions, maybe.
Yeah, everything's gone. Because like I still can place the day, I can still like piece some of it together. But one thing I definitely remember between that moment of the whole parking lot to even to hours later being in the hospital, having zero control, like seeing almost like I'm watching a movie, seeing myself doing things that were ridiculous and having no control over stopping, like none. And even at the moment, knowing, stop doing this. Why are you doing this? Just stop. Just shut up. Just sit down. And couldn't. Like to the point where like in the hospital, I don't know what it's called, but say it's called a red alert. A red alert was put on me, basically where they lock all the doors. So say you're in like hallway L, they lock all the doors off. So you can't leave that area so that they can monitor you. Well, keep you like until they calm the situation, basically, so you don't harm anybody or yourself or others, or
especially a big dude like you.
Well, at the time, yeah, I was big at that time too, because that's all I was doing was, I wasn't all muscle, but I was eating and training and. Yeah. Did you? I mean, I know that the stuff that you've been doing on TV and everything now, in Project Ciampa and whatever. Yeah.
Was that like generated from that place?
Yes.
It seems like it because I've seen you do this stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know where it comes from or what it is, but like it makes a lot of sense now. Almost.
Everything today is. There was a moment, and I vividly remember it, where I just stared in a mirror, like to the point where it was uncomfortable, because I did not recognize myself, and it took me that moment. I'd say the first 10 minutes was just me like saying, "Okay, this is what you actually look like now as an adult. Like first take this in." And now let's go from here. And just staring, man, and just thinking like, how are you here? Why are you here? Like how did this happen from age 20 to now? Because it's only been 2 years, year and a half, it's like, what the hell happened in my life? And just finally hitting a thing where I said, well, what works for you? And first of all, I guess the first question was, do you want to wrestle? And there was never a hesitation. Like I never wanted to stop doing this, so I had to do it. And then there was this moment of like, well, how do you make it so it's not a drug anymore? Like, so that you're doing something you love because you love doing it, but not because you have to, you need to, it's not something it's a crutch. And that's where the rebuilding started. Like, how do you stand out without doing all the crap that you're doing right now, without, going down this bad road? There's got to be a way, because you got to rebuild your name at this point.
Okay, I'm wondering, like, kind of where you like, just so wrestling is how can I make wrestling not shitty and make it a positive thing?
Exactly. How can I continue How can I keep wrestling in my life, keep doing this, but not allow myself to be in this position again? Not, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be. I'm not going to suddenly decide at the end of this conversation with myself that you're going to go back to WB and you're going to prove those suckers wrong. And it's going to happen. Yeah. It's going to be this long, tiresome road, and a lot of downs are going to be there, and there's going to be a lot of doors shut. And it was more of like, can you handle it? And if the answer is yes, then let's start making steps so that you can. Because I knew I could. I had something in me. I knew I could. But at that point in my life, mentally not stable enough. I physically wasn't, and nothing was there. So I was like, okay, emotionally, physically, mentally, let's kind of revamp.
Cool. And you said yes.
Yeah.
we just closed down this interview, and then we've all been kind of chit-chatting and talking.
Uh-huh.
And realizations.
Uh-huh.
Right away, you start talking.
Yep.
Was that okay? What should I do? Holy shit, maybe this, maybe that.
Yep. Well, that's my thing, Colt. You know, I've got this kind of rejection complex. You know, I fear failure. That's kind of my thing. You know, that's kind of what holds me back in a lot of aspects of my life. You know, especially professionally.
Well, I think it's so important that we were just like, okay, you have no Facebook for anybody. And it's like no one could get a hold of you.
Yep.
And I don't know if it was together, but we're just talking, and you're like, I just have this fear of failure.
Yeah.
And that was going to be between us, but I think it's important that people know you're a fucking real human being with real feelings, and this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's understandable. So you're saying, well, you were saying, like, if people get a hold of me, they'll have me on a card, and what if I fuck up, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess before this podcast, when you suggested the idea of podcast, like, you know, that kind of alarm bells rang, you know, I've got to speak fluently to the world, and what if I sound like an asshole, or what if I sound dumb, you know, it was intimidating. And I guess it comes down to this rejection, this failure complex. I don't want to, and that's why I don't maybe push myself in a lot of aspects of my career, because I'm so scared of being rejected, I guess. But that's only being a human, right?
I think. Did you think you were the only? I mean, I guess you're asking me. I mean, listen, I have amazing fears, and I talked about fear in women, and I don't think it's necessarily, for me, it's almost not wrestling anymore, because I'm in a good place in my career right now.
Yeah.
But you are too. But
Yep.
that's because do you feel because you've hid yourself from the chance of being rejected?
To a certain extent, I think so.
I mean, you talk about your complacency, and you feel safe in Dragon Gate USA.
I feel like I've got a spot there, you know,
Right.
and I don't want to rock the boat because I have a job. You know what I'm saying? If I go somewhere else and fail, where does that leave me professionally? You know.
So is it fear? Is it professionally, or is it like is it emotionally? Do you feel like if you were to not succeed, your mind would explode or something? You know, it's not like I'm a fucking doctor. I don't know. I'm really interested.
I think it's. Oh, sorry. I think it's professionally, in the sense that right now I have a job and I love this job, and I'm so fortunate to have a full-time job. Like I said, in this economic climate, there's not a lot of independent guys who can say they make a good living off wrestling, and right now I do. So it's if I go elsewhere or rock the boat, so to speak, and try somewhere else, and it doesn't work, or I fail at doing that, I'm left with nothing, and I'm left without a career, you know. And to go from this job that I love and I'm so passionate about to nothing, back to a 9-to-5, like, how does someone deal with that? You know what I'm saying?
And so I remember, I think, where was the last WrestleMania at?
Atlanta.
Was it Atlanta? Yeah, and I came up to you, I was like, hey, do you want to go to the WWE? And I was like, I can, you know, it's not like I have these giant contracts, but I think you would be a person there. Do you remember this conversation?
I do. It was in, what was the restaurant called? Shaken
Steak, yeah.
Yeah.
So I say that to you. What goes through your mind? Is it not positivity?
It's obviously, I'm absolutely flattered that you'd think that of me, but at the same time, I'm so nervous of the prospect of.
Do you start thinking, now I got to do a tryout, now they'll hate me, now, is that... What's one? What's like 1 and 2? Is it?
I guess the first thing I think about is the worst possible outcome.
Right.
And that's just how my brain works. You know, I don't. Through my career, I started with very little confidence, and I've built it up over time. And now I feel like I'm a confident person as far as in the ring concerned, and as far as I feel like I'm good at my job, if that makes sense. But at the same time, going to a new environment where nobody knows me, and people could hate me, you know, and then where does that leave me, you know?
Right. But you're such a risk taker in the ring, and it seems like you're not a risk taker almost in life, huh?
Yeah. Is that being a pussy?
No, I think. But what I think is great is that we just kind of had this conversation, and it seemed to me like you had a real. I don't know, like, going forth from this point on. Do you think you change, or do you think you just hold your guns? Because you might just hold your guns.
Well,
and do you want to change, or do you?
Oh, I absolutely want to change. And I mentioned to you after the podcast, it almost felt like a pivotal point in maybe my career, because again, I said before the podcast, you approached me with the idea, and all of a sudden alarm bells rang. I was nervous, my heart started beating, but then we did it, and I felt, especially in the second half of the podcast, I got very comfortable, and once it was done, I almost felt not euphoric, but a very uplifting feeling that I'd done it and I'd achieved it, and it was very satisfying. And then you mentioned maybe, think about getting a Twitter, or think about promoting yourself like that, and I thought, maybe you're right, and to have an influence like yourself, who's almost create this media empire for yourself in the pro wrestling business, it's, to have that influence on me, it's important.
So, but it should be more than I think and the whole point of this podcast is really, it's more than a career breakthrough. And if you say that, I can't sit in your brain and speak, but it should be more of also a life breakthrough, because this is our life. And yes, you could say career, but what do we really have outside of
No, you're right. Yeah, you're correct. Absolutely.
And I mean, well, I'm glad that you could come on here and just the idea. God, I mean, it's so different for so many different people. It's the idea that just to finish a 40-minute conversation is exuberance and relief.
Yeah.
And so maybe just the conversation of us just sitting around and talking,
I guess that shows where I'm at. So many people, it comes naturally to them.
Right.
But to me, I guess it's this rejection or this failure complex whereby whenever I think of something, I'll think of failure and it's not going to go right, rather than I'll think, this is going to go awesome, I'm going to kill it,
Have you ever talked to anybody about this? Is this the first?
It is.
Yeah.
Is this too honest?
No, it's great. Yeah, I mean, but I don't want to be fake doctor.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I do feel that, and one thing I love, it's almost as lame, it makes me sound like a pussy, and one thing I love about just wrestling locker rooms is when you find your real buddies and you find your real friends, is you feel, in front of a Punk or Generic or Steen or whatever, I can tell them my stuff that I've held in for almost years, and I can say to them, and sometimes I just slip it out, oh, I do this, and see if they are can relate with me, or if they make fun of me.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they don't make fun of me. And they're and then we start a conversation, and then all of a sudden all my fears and all my problems, now we're conversing and we're sharing stories, and he's sharing a story. Let's say if I don't know. And even to get in real fucking horrible material, sexually, if we talk about sexual experiences, and maybe I have a problem or I have a fear of that, and I talk to, one of the boys, and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to hate me or judge me or think I'm an idiot. And then they start talking about it. Now all of a sudden we have this whole bond and this whole conversation.
That's like human nature. Right?
Yeah.
You share your problems, and you find that when you do share your problems, these are problems that everybody has.
Right.
But because we have these insecurities and we're nervous, we keep these things to ourselves, and these things are amplified in our head, and we think it's just us and we're weird, and but everybody feels like this.
And that's why I'm glad that you came and said this, and I think as you find your wrestling peers, and please to me whenever or whatever you want, the idea of rejection, it's real, and especially I'd say everywhere, because especially independent wrestling, because like you said, it's not I almost feel like in WWE, if you get rejected there, then you can go to independent wrestling. But where do you go after independent wrestling?
Yeah.
Right. And that is so real, not just for you, but for all of us.
Yeah.
And even in WWE, those guys feel that. And I have friends that were up there and that got, and they have nowhere to go, and they don't understand independent wrestling. That's all they know.
And also there's a side of it whereby it's so hard, like I said, it's so hard to make a living in this business, this independent wrestling, this side of things. And I almost feel I should be very grateful for my spot in Dragon Gate, because I'm sure there's many, many wrestlers out there who would love to be in the position that I'm in. So why should I aspire for more when I have such a awesome position where I'm at? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I also want to then bring it back to and I've seen it firsthand with Punk, and so I won't use Punk as an example, but let's say John Cena, you probably think he's number one. He's made it to where he's at. I bet you he has fears. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you, to you, have you ever met John Cena?
I haven't. No.
He's probably just some dude that you think about who dominates wrestling and like he's almost on a pedestal.
Yep.
But if you really think about it, and fucking Hulk Hogan, you know Hulk Hogan has like with his wife and his kids and his son fucking doing what he did to like think about the real, and he puts on a show. And like you said, you were like, well, I don't know if I should, you know, show really feelings because I want to be held in the light of a superstar. But the Hulkster puts on a show. But you know, if it's just as a fan, if I just saw some real true feelings, I feel like I'd be drawn much more to Hulk. And I'd be more willing to support him in his career. At this point, he's just a dude with fake silk hair, and a bleached mustache almost.
I guess it comes down to everybody has these insecurities and insecurities, but some people deal with it better than others. And as of maybe I haven't been dealing with it the best way. I've kind of been just keeping myself to myself and not again to use the same expression, but not rocking the boat. You know.
Yeah. But you will get rejected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, know that.
And that's something I need to learn to deal with.
But what I think is amazing though is I in the podcast that we did is I brought up that idea with the Seidel match and the Roderick and that situation.
Yep.
And I didn't even know this. And is like I said, you came back and you fucking rocked it, and you came back to Gorilla, and like you didn't let that hold you back. Yeah. So no, like but know that happened in your career, and for me, my hopes of you were high, and you didn't hit them.
Yep.
And then you came back and you fucking rocked it, and then like when you had that, when I watched you do that with Generico, I was like, I knew he had it in him. He's the fucking man. And then my hopes of you went right back to where they were. So they did dip and they did come back.
Yeah.
So like, and for you to say that this is like your first time of saying that.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, of this idea of like you should keep this to yourself, because we try to be these stars, we try to be presented these stars, and how can someone see somebody as this superstar, this almost, this guy, when he has all these human emotions and these human insecurities, and I almost feel like I should keep this to myself, and it's not the done thing to let everybody know about this.
I mean, and then this is, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a mistake. I don't think so at all. And I know, people will reach out to you for this reason alone. I guarantee you.
I mean, this is just me right now. This is who I am.
Right.
And before we did this podcast and before we had that conversation, I would never dream of doing this on a public forum. But I don't know, man. Like you're someone obviously I looked up to and respect very much, and you said maybe this is how it should be. The business has changed, and maybe people can relate to the human side of me rather than just the whatever I do in the ring or whatever,
Mm-hmm. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about life?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about life as an indie performer for some of us, and
it's all documented in my movie, The Wrestling Road Diaries.
That is accurate, which I haven't seen. I haven't seen yet because I can't find the copy that you gave me anymore.
Great,
and it's been a year now.
You make fun of me for my unicorn haircut.
Well, it was a little out of control that day, I believe.
It was.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have made fun of you.
Life. I mean, I'm on here. I'm talking about how much I enjoy my life. How much I, as a single man in the city of Chicago, a bachelor, roaming around town to town, city to city, country to country, making money, wrestling matches, meeting people, having fun experiences. Life is good.
It is, but my life is good too, but there's parts of it that are complicated because of wrestling, which is what we were talking about earlier. Like, I'm not a normal person in the fact that I really can't stop wrestling when, in all honesty, I probably should. For various reasons, my body's breaking down, and, this isn't a secret to anybody that I've never really dedicated the time that I should have to getting in the kind of shape that would allow me to make a lot of money in wrestling. And, because of stuff that surrounds all of that, my life is complicated because of in wrestling. Like, I leave my family behind every weekend, and it's hard for my wife because she takes care of our kid alone for 2 straight days, and we live in a city that she's not really familiar with. She doesn't have a car to drive around when she wants to. And, just complications. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Well, I always heard the idea of, like, you can't be in wrestling and have a family. And I was just like, that's bullshit.
I don't think it is bullshit.
But there is so many people that do that, right?
Yeah, but maybe
their life situations are in better. You're just a mess, Kev.
I'm not a mess.
Your life is just.
Here's the thing is, and I mean, this is really kind of personal shit that I'm airing out on here, but like if I were making I'm not even talking about crazy money, but if I was making 60, 70 grand a year doing
a janitor's salary,
like this would be fine because I could pay my bills easily and provide my wife and son with a life that they deserve. And, it wouldn't be as bad if she has to take care of our kid 2 days in a row and then have to, like, in the morning rush off to drop him off at daycare to hopefully catch the bus that will take her to school in time and all this shit. It wouldn't be that bad because we'd be at least living comfortable, and when I would leave them behind, they'd have stuff to enjoy. But the truth of the matter is, I personally don't have a indie wrestler career that's making me that much money, and I don't have a day job, and I probably should get one. But
I thought you did I thought you had a night job.
I did for a while, and then I stopped, and I don't know. I'm trying to live the dream of just living off wrestling, and it's clearly not enough. But the problem is now I'm at the point where I wonder if I should just become a real person, like a normal person.
Have you tried that before?
No, not since I've been 16 and started wrestling. Like, even if I had a job when I was 16 at a gas station.
What's the longest you've not done a show for?
Since I was 16.
No, I mean, like,
I started wrestling regularly in 2004 when I started working like this in the States. But
how many weekends off is the most you've ever had?
I think I might have had 4.
4 weekends, so a month off.
Yeah.
And by that fourth month, did it drive you crazy?
That fourth week, you mean?
By the fourth week.
Kinda. I mean, I need the relief of wrestling, but that was also at a different place in my life. Like, I just didn't have the kind of stress I have currently. Like, I didn't have a kid back then, and life was just easier. So now the relief of wrestling is great. Like, I love wrestling, and I love performing. But in the end, I don't know, man. I often wonder if it's really worth it, leaving my house for 2 or 3 days and coming home with no real money. Like, I come home with money, but it's not real fucking money that I can put in my bank account and have a decent savings account for my kid or whatever.
Now, here you are, like one of the top ROH guys. You've been on the scene for so long.
Yeah, that actually, I might not go. I mean, who are they kidding, though? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think that the perception of everybody, just a normal Joe Blow wrestling fan, is like, this guy makes money?
No,
I don't. Or do they know that we're all fucking?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, but we're not all fucking whatever. Like, you're doing great because you sell your Colt merch works out great for you, and you have the podcast that's helping you out, and you're all over the place. Like, I see you at shows, and things always roll your way, and it's great. But I don't even have up until a couple.
But
days
I'd be
ago.
on the same salary as you as a wrestler.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
is low.
But the merch is where you make your money, most of it.
So make some merch.
I've tried, and I just don't have what Colt Cabana has. Like, I've had shirts and DVDs, and I don't know. To be honest, it was almost like I thought it was painful to go deliver, to go ship them out when I would get orders for them. Actually, because I don't know why, but the Canada Post is the worst.
Yeah, somebody else told me that.
It's unreal.
I guess it's crazy. I guess I'm grateful to have to only be able to ship from America.
I've tried sending stuff out to fans in the States, and I've literally had to send the same package 3 times, at which point I make no money off
you're right.
Because it just doesn't get there. I don't know why. They don't know why, and it's just the way it is. But I don't know, man. I don't think anybody thinks that Ring of Honor wrestlers are making a killing here.
Nobody?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They might not be happy whenever this airs and they hear about the Ring of Honor people, but if you're not happy, give me more money.
Right.
That's all.
You don't want.
And I don't want to seem ungrateful because I do appreciate what they give me. Like, when I wrestle a match for the amount of money they pay me, I'm still happy. Like, I feel like I got compensated decently, but when I got home to real life, that compensation is just not enough.
Somebody that had just worked at Subway for 8 hours and made the same amount.
No, that's not true. You know what I mean? For 1 week.
But a real job, right? Okay, but a real job though, in terms of real jobs, that's what you made for one match is going to be less than what somebody made in a week for a real job.
Probably.
Right.
I would say so. Maybe. I mean, not all jobs, but like somebody who's worked a real job for 40 hours and, stayed home on that weekend to enjoy family time and be there for their family probably made a little bit less or as much as I did. You know what a big difference is, though? And I think the frustration is a lot frustration with myself. Because like I mentioned earlier, it would be one thing if I was going away making real money. You have the distinct... you have the honor or whatever the correct term could be of knowing that you made the right choices and you did the right things to get as far as you could. And like you were in WWE for a while and there's no telling what's going to happen. You could very well go back and probably will. But I literally never made that choice. I made the choice to eat pizza and not work out. And now I'm 27 years old. And I really regret it when I used to not regret it. And even though I love myself and I love what I am in the ring and I'm fine with what I am, I know that I never made the choice to fully put myself in this. You know what I mean?
Well, is it WWE or is it just any wrestling that can make you a good living?
No, any wrestling that could, that's not true. Any wrestling that could make me a good living in this country, like in North America. Because I could have made... Like, I went to Japan, and I could have lived there, I'm pretty sure. Like, they wanted me full-time Dragon Gate. They were willing to have me 8 months out of the year, like Pac's been doing. Like, they wanted me. They were going to give me, like, good money. And then I was there for 2 months, and I made a decent amount of money while I was there. And then when I came home, I'm like, well, it's great, but I don't want to live in Japan. So if I'm making a living in Japan, but I'm making a living where I can't live my life where I want to live it, it's pointless. So any wrestling where I can make a great, like not great living, a good living, just a comfortable living where my bills are paid and then, I have disposable income to do cool shit. And when I leave my house, fucking my wife doesn't have to, be stressed about like, oh, sucks, I can't really go do anything. We don't have that much money. If she wants to go fucking shopping, she can go shopping and drop $400 on whatever. Like at least she has that fucking luxury. But I can't even give her that. Because I'm gone to make money, and then when I come home, that money disappears, and then we're like, we're just getting by.
I'd like to tell you it's coming.
It's not, but that's okay.
I don't know. I don't know
okay.
the answer for anybody.
And, I was telling you earlier, I feel like wrestling on the indies is counterproductive to me ever maybe making it where I can make a living. Because my life is I'm home and... I take care of my family when I'm home, and then I go off on weekends, and I don't work out. I eat like shit, and then I come home, and I just do it over and over and over.
Try to restart. Yeah, I'm on the same path.
I don't have a routine, and I feel like if I just had a regular job and I wasn't wrestling on weekends, and I could dedicate, like literally, I could be a 9-to-5 guy, and then... Okay, at 7:30, I go work out at the gym, and that's just my routine. And then Saturday, Sundays, I take my kids sledding. I go to karate classes with them. I take them swimming. I go to the restaurant with my wife, and I have a normal life. And I have a decent job to pay for my bills and not have to worry about that. Then I could actually maybe dedicate myself to what I need to do to be a wrestler.
Yeah, but then you're sacrificing the craft.
Yes.
Which you continue to do on the weekends or whatever, how many times you can a week.
Yeah.
And then once you stop for a year, then you lose the craft.
But I would never stop completely. Like I could probably do
No, you're not allowed to. No.
Why?
You'd have to go if you to do that, because then you'll slip back and you'll take one booking a month, and then that'll be too much.
That would be dangerous.
Right.
No, it wouldn't be too much.
So one booking every 3 months, and then you'll be like, well, I can get one more before you know it. This guy and hey, honey, this tour is getting offered to me. Honey, Africa wants me to come. And
but
be
honey, honey wouldn't tell me don't. Well, I would never go to Africa. That's something I've never been overseas.
There's a tour of Indianapolis, 7 days.
But those don't happen. Though.
Well, I don't know. They seem to do when you don't give a fuck. Honestly.
Yeah?
Honestly.
Maybe that's the thing. Yeah?
When you're just like, I guess I'll just whatever. Listen, when I got fired, I looked on Monster.com. I was going to get a fucking job. You know, I didn't know what to fucking do with my life.
We weren't talking that much back then.
My dream was crushed.
Yeah.
I put a resume on Monster.com like an asshole.
This is very interesting.
And I kept taking my indies, and I was like, well, I just won't care as much, and I'll start doing comedy. And that's when I started taking lessons on improv and all this stuff. And I started doing a show Sundays during the city, and then all of a sudden, when I wanted to take the Sundays off, all these awesome bookings just started coming and ran up to it. And it was just like, fuck. And I turned down some cool stuff to try to stay in the comedy. And then eventually I was just like, I can't do everything. I want to do the wrestling. And it just came.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I just make sure my goal,
I did have that great Scotty Goldman rub, so they wanted that Goldman.
That one spanky match.
Yes, they wanted that.
But you know, like I would hope that I'd be able to make correct choices and just do the bare minimum so that I can keep the craft alive while still trying to achieve a goal of being, you know, a wrestler, like a real wrestler one day. Not real wrestler, but a wrestler that makes money. The thing is, you're right. Like, you know, the floodgates open eventually, and one by one, I would probably just try to get more and more bookings, and then I'd be back to being what I am now. But like, what was I gonna say? I was going somewhere with this, and now I lost it. Another hardships of indie wrestling life. My brain kind of just goes off sometimes.
You get hit in the head with a steel chair, Kev.
No, don't bring that up, please.
Okay, sorry.
I heard enough about it.
All right.
But yeah, man, I don't know. That's it. I kind of equate it to, like, I don't know, by the way, if that's a proper expression, but my brother has 2 kids, whatever, and he's just a, you know, normal Joe. He was a mechanic and finishes work at 5:30, goes home, but then on Fridays he goes to play hockey, and he's gone for like 4 or 5 hours. That would be my hockey. Like, I would go wrestle on whatever show on a Saturday, you know what I mean? And then
here's my recommendation. You talked about the wrestling school. You should just like open a promotion.
I can't. There's no, like, Quebec
get with somebody, but like a weekly show where you don't care how many people show up, and like you can every Friday night. You can leave for a little bit.
But here's the thing: I care though. I don't want to go do this in front of 30 people. Like, I still have like hopes that, yeah, I'll go do it once in a while, but I don't want to do it for 30 people. There are those things in Montreal. There is a weekly place where I can wrestle. You wrestle there. Yeah, CRW.
Do it.
I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to wrestle every Friday in front of 30 people.
Then I don't know what to tell you.
I'd rather wrestle one Saturday a month in front of like 250 and just make sure that I can still do a sunset flip, so that if that big tryout comes once I have abs, you know what I mean, I'm ready for it.
Well.
But hey, this is life, and I don't know when this is going to air and when people are going to hear this, but well, who knows where I'll be by the time people hear this. This is a big I'm at a crossroads, I believe, kind of. That's how I feel right now. I have a big decision to make.
Well, I hope it's the right one, buddy.
I hope so,
I don't know which one that is.
I don't know what it is either. But any decision I make, I will make sure to take a booking in Chicago once in a while so we can hang out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, bud. Just a reminder, you can listen to those 3 podcasts ad-free at StitcherPremium.com/Colt. That's where all the past archives live. There's like 400 episodes. Talks just like that, different ways, different people, different places in life. Some are happy, some are sad, some are confused, some are just floating by. It's super interesting to hear about your favorite wrestlers and the wrestlers you don't even know. You get to know more about. In just 2 weeks, I'm going to start documenting weekly. I'm very scared. I just want you guys to know that. If feelings are coming out, I'm very scared. I don't know if I'll be able to keep it up. I don't know how rigorous the editing will be. I don't know. I feel I've done a lot of editing over the podcasting, learning how to edit, so I'm hoping it comes out right. There's going to be some learning patches, I guess. I don't even know if that's the right word. I'm scared, but I think it's going to turn out great. I hope you guys give me a couple benefit of the doubt weeks. But the first month's going to be nuts, man. Japan, New Orleans, WrestleCon weekend, and then China. I think that's why I picked these weeks to start. These weeks will really represent the life that I've lived over the past 19 years to its fullest. Crazy international travel, traveling with friends, traveling with people I don't know, random WWF superstars and legends that I looked up to as a kid who are now my friends or just people who know who I am. And that'll sum it all up. So it should be a good one. Stick with it. Before we get out of here this week, let's get into some plugs and
upcoming events.
All right, ColtMerch.com is the best way that you can support. I got a Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana. I got Facebook's AOW Podcast and Colt Cabana. Again, all the ad-free podcasts are on StitcherPremium.com/Colt. Use the code Colt, get a free month. Also, that's where you can find my storytelling podcast, Pro Wrestling Fringe, and an hour-long audio documentary I did on the Insane Clown Posse's Gathering of the Juggalos. ColtWrestling@gmail.com, my very public email. Maybe you're a promoter and want to put me on your upcoming convention or show and want to be featured on this new series of wrestling podcasts I'm doing. YouTube, I got a YouTube channel. I also got a website, COLT'S.com. That's where you can find my P.O. box and send me something fun. Upcoming this Friday, March 16th, Chicago, Illinois, AAWrestling.com. Sunday, March 18th, East Greenwich, Rhode Island, Facebook/Beyond Wrestling. March 25th and April 1st, Tokyo, Japan, DDTUniverse.com. April 5th through the 8th, New Orleans, Louisiana, WrestleCon.com. Thursday night is the High Spot Super Show. Saturday morning is Pancakes and Pile Drivers. I'm tagging with Marty DeRosa. And Saturday night is the Ring of Honor show. I'll be doing some commentary. April 14th, Wenzhou City, China, UnitedWrestlingTV.com. Thursday, April 19th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Facebook/ICW Milwaukee. Friday, April 20th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, ZelloPro.com. Saturday and Sunday, April 21st and 22nd, Dallas and Denton, Texas, ImperialWrestlingRevolution.com. That is the show for this week. Huge thank you to you guys at home for listening, spreading the word, telling people about this show. Thanks to Pac or Neville. Thanks to Tomasso Ciampa, Kevin Steen/Kevin Owens for opening up back in the day. And when I see you in person, you will do the same, as we are friends. And it's good to have those kind of relationships in wrestling and in life. Thanks to Cable Guy Jeff and Stu Stone, Kid Russell, Matt Jenkins with music, Dane Miller and Creaky if I ever need tech help. Sponsors, VOD service from High Spots is amazing. Watch PWGs there. Watch the Kevin Steen shows. Watch Best Friends, Poppin' Dogs and Talking Hogs or something like that. Also AMA knee pads, gear, masks, wrestling rings. OneHourTees.com. They help run ProWrestlingTees.com. Support your favorite independent wrestler directly. TweakedAudio.com/Colt, the earbuds that I use. Get over 30% off and free shipping. Just because you listen to this show, I'll give you an update before I get out of here. Booked a gig. I had 4 auditions last week. I did a callback for one. I booked one that I didn't even need a callback for. I got put on hold for another. So I might have booked 2 gigs. We don't know. Something that you'll probably never see. I think they're industrials. You know that term? I didn't know that term. It's like in-house. So the world can't even see it. I wonder if I can sneak them on YouTube. I don't know. Pays decent. I mean, I'll regain those poker losses that I lost. So that's good enough, I think. And on I go. I'll keep you updated. All right, this has been The Art of Wrestling for Colt Cabana. I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks